Everyone and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be sharing 5 Valentine Day art ideas with you all, and this is a drawing art ideas sort of video. These are some more ways that you can fill your sketchbook, and hopefully if you're stuck for some inspiration, you want some Valentine Day themed projects to work on in your sketchbook, hopefully this video will be helpful for you. So I'm starting out by using my mixed media sketchbook, and I'll leave a list of all the supplies that I'm using in the description box below if you want to check them out. But I'm using my mixed media sketchbook today because I'm using my water-based markers, and I'm going to be doing some watercolouring techniques. So the first page I'm going to make a geometric heart, and what I have here is I have a little bit of scrap card. You can use any type of paper card that you have, and it's a square piece of card. I folded it in half, and then I've drawn out my little geometric heart. So that's 1, 2, 3 lines, and I've drawn half the heart, and then I've cut it out, and then when I open it up I have that perfectly symmetrical geometric heart, and I'm using it as a mask. So I've just taped it down onto the centre of my page. Then I'm using this nice washi tape to go round the edge of the heart and to mask it off. And don't worry if you think I'm wasting this washi tape. I'm going to reuse the washi tape on a further page. So I'm going to show you how I reuse the washi tape I use for my masking a bit later on. So the washi tape does not get wasted. I actually use it to create a spread a bit later on. So I'm now using a much thinner washi tape to create some geometric blocks within the heart, and I'm just laying it quite randomly in the middle there to create, just to mask off areas. So now that the masking's all complete, and I'm just kind of running over the tape with my fingers just to make sure that the tape is all properly stuck down, and I'm just using an acrylic block as a mixing palette and a water brush, and I've just scribbled a couple of the water-based markers onto the block. You can do this technique with watercolours if you want. You can do it with distress inks. You could do it with watercolour pencils even if you wanted. You can do this however you want. I'm just using the water-based markers because I find that they're very quick, they're very easy for me to use, and I particularly like using them. But for all of the techniques that I'm doing in this video, you can use whatever supplies you have on hand. You can adapt it to suit whatever supplies you have. So I'm just kind of going in and I'm creating these little kind of galaxies really, and I'm just kind of blending in the blue, the red and the purple and the pinks together, and I'm drying it with my heat gun in between. And the last little step that I'm doing for this page is to take my Posca paint pen, and I'm going in and I'm adding little stars and little dots just to kind of sparkle up my little galaxy there. And you have to make sure that you fill all the little gaps in completely though. You want to fill the little geometric shapes completely in before you're finished. And now I'm carefully taking up that washi tape and I'm just sticking it down onto my acrylic block because, as I said, I'm going to reuse it again later. And this is my favourite part. I love taking off the washi tape here and seeing how it's all perfectly masked off, and I get that lovely geometric heart. And I love this technique because there's no sketching lines, there's no outlines, it's just these lovely perfectly masked blocks of galaxy, and I think this is a really pretty technique. I particularly like this, and you could do this with any shape. It doesn't have to be a heart, but because it's Valentine's Day, all the projects in today's video are heart themed. So now we're going to reuse that exact same mask, and the nice thing about making your masks out of card is that you can keep them. So I'm going to put this mask in with my collage supplies so that I always have a nice heart mask if I ever need one. So now I'm using my marker airbrush, and this is a marker airbrush from We Are Memory Keepers, and I have a review video coming up on it next week if you're interested in it. You can make splatters however you want. So the idea for this page is to create a negative space. So you mask off a space in the middle of your page with a heart, or you could use any shape you want, and then you fill the rest of the page up. And I'm just using my marker airbrush to splatter the water-based markers on the page, and I'm using pinks, reds, blues and purples again to create this lovely splattered background. You could use some watercolours and a brush and splatter them that way. You can create splatters however you want, and I will have a review video on the marker airbrush. It's not an expensive tool and it's really useful if you like creating splatters. So then I took the mask off, and you have that lovely white masked off area in the centre there, and then I'm just using some stickers to write the word Valentine in the centre. I think it'd be nice actually if you were making a little card for someone and you used this technique, you could always write someone's name in the middle of that heart. I think that would look very nice as well. So for this next technique, I'm going to be doing a little bit of hand lettering. Now, I'm not the best at hand lettering, but I had an idea for something, so I wanted to give it a go and do a page with this. So I've just briefly sketched in the word Valentine. And as you saw, I started with the first letter and the last letter, and that way I can space in between, I can get the letters all quite evenly spaced on the page. So I started with the V and the E, then I put in the N in the middle, and then I spaced in the other letters in between. And then I went, and then once I'd got my basic letter shapes in, I went in and I drew hearts and circles along those lines. So I'm basically creating the letters out of little shapes. And I did hearts, and then I did circles, and then I did those squiggly lines, and then I alternated the colours. So I did red for hearts, blue for circles, purple for circles, and the blue for the lines. And I used the fine tip end of my water-based markers to line them in. And these water-based markers have a brush tip on one end and like a fine liner tip on the other, so they're very useful for doing this sort of thing. And I'm just using my water brush to sort of bleed the colours a little bit so that they don't look so harsh, and they're coloured in a little bit. And then I'm just using my Posca paint pen to add a few little sparkles to that. And I think that looked really nice. Again, this would make a very nice little greetings card. You could do somebody's name. It's just a fun little project to do. And so now I'm reusing the washi tape, and I'm going to make a bit of a collage page. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm just sticking down the washi tape onto a scrap piece of paper. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can cut out the hearts a lot. I wouldn't be able to cut out the hearts on the sticky paper. So I've cut all those strips of washi tape into little squares, then I'm folding them in half, and I'm just using my scissors and cutting half a heart round again, and that way I have loads of lovely symmetrical little hearts. And I'm using the washi tape, and I've also got a little bit of leftover tissue paper that came as a gift wrapping. So this is an excellent way to use up old tissue paper, magazine cutouts, bits of wrapping paper, anything that you have lying around that you'd like to make a little collage page with. Just cut them all out as little hearts, and then I'm just gluing them quite randomly all over the page. And I think it's nice here to have hearts of a couple of different sizes. So I have the tissue paper hearts large, and then the washi tape hearts smaller. And then I'm using those thin strips to kind of create as if the hearts are hanging, as if you imagine the hearts like hanging mobiles. Then I'm using the thinner washi tape to create the string or whatever's holding up the hearts. And then I'm just kind of going ahead, gluing things down, making sure everything's nice and glued down. And then I dried everything with my heat gun in between, or you could leave it to dry overnight. And then I'm using some paint pens, and the Posca paint pens are my favourite paint pens. And I'm just using them to sort of doodle and create some extra interest in the page. And you can do this however you like. And I'm just kind of creating some more little hanging strips for the smaller hearts. I'm creating little yellow dots around them. You can just really play. Once you have your main collage elements down, you can grab whatever markers you have, whatever pencils. Paint pens I particularly like for this because they're acrylic paint pens, so they're completely opaque on the page. And you can just go ahead and add little details, little dots, little bits of doodling to your page, and just kind of decorate it however you want. And I even went and I added a little bit of shading around the bigger hearts. So that's a fun page, and it's a fun way to use up scraps of washi tape and scraps of paper that you have lying around. And again, it would make a fun greetings card or a Valentine's Day gift for someone. So for this last page, we're going to draw a character with hearts in their hair, and I'm going to show you a rather subtle and fun way of colouring this in. And you can do any sort of character you want. I've drawn a girl's face here, and I have some tutorials on drawing eyes and noses and lips, and I will have one on faces soon. So if you want to look more in detail at how I actually set out the face, then those tutorials are available. But you just want to draw a face. It could be a girl's face, a boy's face, a cat, a dog, an animal of some sort. It could be anything you want. And then you draw lots of hearts on top of their head. And I'm going in now with a waterproof fine liner in pink to just outline it. And then once you've done your outlines, I'm taking the acrylic block and I'm scribbling on yellow, pinks, oranges and a little bit of red onto that acrylic block. Then I'm spritzing it with some water and then I'm stamping it all over the line art. Now, if you don't like the subtleness of that pink, it's very subtle, the line art, you could go ahead and use a black multi-liner that's waterproof. The Pentel pocket brush pen is waterproof and that would look really cool as well. But what I've done is I've stamped over that line art several times, and then I'm using the light pink water-based marker, and I'm just using that to add a little bit of shadow to her face so that the face pops out a little bit, but I'm not going to be doing any real colouring. So I've used a tiny bit of light pink, a tiny bit of light purple in the face, and now I'm outlining it all with a pink paint pen, and then I go over again with a red paint pen. And the idea with this is to create a very subtle effect. Now, as I said, if you don't like the subtle effect, you can of course go ahead, outline it in black and it would look just as good. I just wanted to keep that very soft subtle effect, but the way of stamping it, I just think it looks really, really cool. I love the stamped colouring effect and the way the different colours are blending, and then you get the it's almost splattery at the bottom, and then you have like those big patches of colour at the top. And the nice thing about using the acrylic block is that it's a surprise every time. You're never going to get it exactly the same, so you can really really have lots of fun with using your water-based markers that way, or inks or watercolours. If you have an acrylic block or a piece of acrylic plastic packaging, you could scribble watercolours onto it, distress inks, however you want. You don't have to use water-based markers. But there's the finished page. I added some white highlights, and I think this page looks really nice. I really like how that turned out. Anyway, so those are the 5 different pages that I've done today. That was the geometric heart, the splatter heart, the heart collage, the heart lettering, and then the hearts in the hair page. It's all very much hearts today. But which page do you like best? Make sure you leave me a comment down below and let me know which page you like best. And if you were looking for some Valentine Day art ideas, you wanted to work on your sketchbook this weekend and doodle some Valentine Day ideas, I hope that this video was helpful. And as ever, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.